Hey guys, and welcome to another one of my #1 Sentai Gozyuger episodes, commentary and reviews. This time it's episode 4, Party Time, Dreaming Old Man. And just want to say, if you do like what you see, please remember to like and subscribe. It means so much on a small channel like mine. It just really means a lot. Anyway, let's get into the episode. So the episode opens with a flashback at the Takahara house, where we're introduced to Takahara Joji, who's an 87-year-old man, who, because he's always criticising everyone, doesn't like him being selfish or lazy, he's basically got the reputational nickname of a stubborn geezer. But while out tending his bonsai one day, he finds the green ring. And when he put it on, he was transported in front of Take a Sword Red, who told him to make his wish. And his wish was that he wanted eternal youth and to be one of the party people. And he basically gets told, collect all the rings, and yeah, you got eternal youth. So with the contract signed, he's got the ring on his hand, and he's young. And his poster tells him that, fighting in his normal body would be a bit difficult. So if he wants to stay young, collect all the rings. Which is what he's doing. However, back in the present, he starts sort of collapsing and tells Tano that he wants eggs. He needs eggs. So we get the opening credits and we end up back in the cafe. So he wolfs down a plate of the eggs in the shape of the Tiger Sword hand. And as he finishes, he turns back into his younger self. And apparently he gets older when he's lacking the nutrition you get from eggs. So he'll go old, he eats some eggs, and he gets young again. Now, we now find out that Yellow's dad is actually a doctor, but they're not going to take the old/young guy to him because he'd never believe him. So it turns out the old man is now going to school. And he introduces himself, and he starts introducing himself normally, but then he notices his grandson's in the class. So, taking inspiration from his ring and the word bird of prey, he calls himself Takahara Kinjiro. Cut to an underground parking lot, and we see Goju Unicorn following a suited guy. And apparently, she has questions about her little sister's case. And this guy's a big shot prosecutor. But things don't go to plan as he pulls a ring out after recognising hers. And he transforms into Ryusoga. And when she tries to transform to fight him, it doesn't work for her. And as he attacks, she's saved by the Prime Minister, still using the Don Brothers ring. So the two fight, with Prime Minister coming out on top. And as he pins the lawyer, he actually uses the Time Force ring, which he uses to freeze the lawyer, who then seems to blow up in a volcano, lose his ring, and his silver Tiger Sword is destroyed. As Goju Unicorn comes over, thanks to the Prime Minister, and he tells her not to be reckless because it would destroy her family if they lost her as well. Back with the bad guys in No One World, Bouquet is still stressing over the fact that her picture of Rikuo was torn up, and she's still blaming Blue Tiger Sword, despite the fact that Goju Blue is Rikuo. So I guess it shows that they don't know the identities of anyone with the rings. Except for maybe Goju Wolf, considering she saw him pick it up. But other than that, 2 more gold-headed bells come up, who are the Fire Blizzard siblings. So, one controls fire, one controls ice, and they say they're going to go get the rings. In school, Kinjo is invited to party up on the roof. Apparently the students aren't allowed up there, but the student inviting him has the keys. To which Kinjiro has a go at the guy inviting him up there, who calls him, says he sounds like a stubborn geezer, which sort of makes him realise that he's just missed out on a chance to party. And as he's like regretting it, his grandson comes over and introduces himself, saying, you know, we've got the same surname. So they're walking home together, and they start talking about the family. And apparently, everyone thinks the granddad ran off a few days earlier. And the grandson actually says it's a relief to him, because his granddad was so stubborn, never agrees with anything, never had fun, and he doesn't even miss him, which is kind of upsetting for Kinjiro. As his grandson says, he just wants to go and party all the time. But as he's rebuked for that by Kinjiro, he tells him he's a creep and just walks off. And as Kenjiro realises that he is just a stubborn geezer down to his bones and could never be one of the party people, he actually takes off his ring and throws it into the river, saying he doesn't want the contract. So up on the roof, the guy who invites him for a party up there is lying around saying it's boring, hears a voice, and of course, you know what's going to happen from here. He's possessed and gets turned into a monster. Back at the cafe, Kenjo's talking with Tono, and he's saying, you know, he got in a fight with his grandson. You know, family isn't the tight bond that he thought it was. And he spent his entire life working for the sake of family and never doing anything for himself. Until he's told, you know, that's your ego, you always wanted to do it, and that's all there is. You know, Tono's just really blunt with him. But he also goes on to say, you know, just go speak to your family, because you never know when the last time you're going to see him will be. As Kenjiro flashes back to an old woman dying before rushing out of the cafe. Running along outside, he ends up crashing into his grandson, and remarkably, neither one of them is running late for anything with a piece of toast sticking out of their mouth. But as they're lying there where they've knocked each other over, everyone's interrupted by party people number 1 of No One World, who wants everyone to start partying. And of course, the battle starts with the graphics. A giant disco ball appears in the air, and it blasts everyone except for Kenjiro and his grandson, with everyone in party clothes, some kind, with Goju Wolf getting some rather snazzy Elton John style 50 glasses, and everyone out on the grass starts partying until they collapse. And as they collapse, they're all sucked up into the disco ball. The Gozyugers do try to transform, but because their hands are locked in party poses, they can't get the rings off, so they can't transform. As the party monster goes for his grandson, Kinjiro comes along and blocks the attack on his grandson, as Goju Wolf comes along, because he can't do his normal thing and his hands are stuck like that, he sort of has to try and do it with both hands like that. So Kinjiro gets his grandson out to safety, takes the blame and apologises to his grandson before going back out and summoning his ring. With the ring back, he transforms into Goju Eagle, and we get the announcer and cheerleader segments. So as Green rushes in with his grandson watching, he starts clapping his hands, and he does what I can only assume is some sort of festival dance. He calls it the Party People folk song, which Party People number 1 really gets into, up to the point where Goju Eagle pulls a bow out of his chest and destroys the disco ball, freeing all the people that were trapped in it and undoing the transformation on yellow, red and blue, who are then able to do their proper transformation into Gozyugers. So the proper smackdown begins. The other 3 are fighting the grunts, and Eagle is fighting the main guy, still turning it into a dance as he's fighting him. And you start to see a bit more of the individual style of the different rangers as they're fighting. Yellow's sort of more fists only, blue is a little bit more flashy, and red is a bit more sort of a close fighter. He's more of he's down to rumble. So as they finish off with them, 2 giant robots come in, piloted by the Blizzard Fire twins, or siblings, and Red calls in Dagger Sword Red. So, being the only Zord of the season, or the only mecha, or whatever you want to call it, he's fighting alone. First it's hot, then he gets frozen, and then they combine their powers together. So he starts charging in, and Blue takes over. Says, you know, if you're going for ranged, I'm taking over. Boots Red out, starts shooting his Gatling gun at them, and as Tiger Sword Blue is still hurtling towards the 2 enemy robots, Yellow kicks them out, jumps in, and smashes them with the Tyranno Hammer before Wolf goes back in and finishes them off with the finishing move, causing both of them to be destroyed. So we've seen 3 Tiger Swords this episode, because they're all fighting over it. So we go back to the fight between Eagle and Party People No One, and Eagle is able to rip the guy out, which he is the first person we've seen do it other than Goju Wolf, before the No One monster is blown up. And his grandson's watching, and he's like, yeah, get in there. And we get the graphics, winner, Goju Eagle. So later on we flash to the Takahara home, and Kinjiro's grandson is there, and he's showing his dad quite a good drawing of the family, including the granddad. And he's saying, you know, I want to be an artist. And his dad's there, and he wants to support him. He says, you know, I don't want to be as stubborn as my dad, so yeah, I'm going to support you in your art. And as they're doing that, Kinjiro opens up their mailbox and pretends to find a postcard on the ground, which he's actually written himself, just saying, I'm doing fine, so don't worry, so that they won't worry about the old man part of it. And he ends up giving them a hug, tells them to hang in there, much to their surprise. And then he leaves. As Red steps out from where he's been watching. And he pulls out a picture of his own, of what you can only assume is his missing family. And then we cut to Unicorn, and she's got a picture of what's probably her younger sister on her phone as the episode ends. Okay, so I've got to say, for me, that episode felt really short. Now, I know it's exactly the same length as all the others, I think. It just felt like it was over as soon as it started, which goes to show I enjoyed it. But at the same time, you know, part of it was taken up by a recap at the start of the episode. And then, you know, you had like the flashbacks for the old guy. And then it sort of gets into it, which is fair enough. I like learning about the new characters and all the rest of it. And we've got some mystery being introduced as well. We've got Unicorn's little sister. You've got Red's family. At least you can only assume it's his family. He did tell Green that, you know, you never know when the last time you're going to see your family again is going to be. And we also find out that Yellow's dad is a doctor. So that's, you know, a bit of backstory for each of them. It's establishing the characters. We've got Bouquet still pining over the picture that was ripped last episode. And I'm just wondering what's going to happen when she finds out that Ryuji and Goji Blue are one and the same. Will she forgive him for ripping that picture, or is she going to go mental even more? Or is that just going to be like cue for her to be like, oh well, I'll just rip it up even more and go her own way with it? So we actually skipped one of the tropes. Red didn't have a new job this week, so obviously he's been a shop employee and works in the grocers. So 2 jobs out of 4 episodes. Maybe it's going to be every other episode. He'll have a new job next week. We found out that Unicorn, or Black, she can't transform yet. So does that mean she hasn't made a bond? And the president, or prime minister, he also has the Time Ranger ring. Now, he used the Time Ranger finisher where he compressed the guy using Ryusoulger ring into a little action figure before he like blew up, and his Silver Tiger gauntlet like broke away. So he's now got another ring, so he's got at least Don Brothers, Time Ranger, Time Ranger, and now Ryusoulger. So whoever beats him is going to get at least 3 rings, plus any others that he might already have. And he's not even one of the main lot. So at the very least, when they take him out, someone's getting 3 extra rings. But it also makes me wonder, does this mean we're not going to see a Red O Ranger or Time Ranger or whatever other ones we've already seen? You know, if someone's using Dew Ranger ring, does that mean we're not going to see Tyranno Ranger as himself? He's just going to be used as a special power? Because that'll be a little bit disappointing. Although I suppose only 50 episodes, you got 50 different series to reference. It could get a little bit tight if they're trying to do as many as possible throughout the season, being the 50th anniversary season in season 49. But we're not going there, are we? Either way, it's been a good episode. But either way, I'll see you guys next time for episode 5. See ya.